YNW Melly's trial officially starts on March 7th, 2022. Here's what law enforcement believes happened the day Sackchaser and Juvie passed. Now the case starts on October 26 in 2018. At 3:30 a.m., YNW Melly, YNW Juvie, YNW Sackchaser, and YNW Bortlen were all four at a recording studio getting work done for YNW Melly's new project. When their session was over at the studio, they all hopped into a four-door Jeep and started heading home. The driver of the vehicle, being Cortland Henry, otherwise known as YNW Bortlen, had YNW Melly sitting directly behind him. And on the opposite side of the vehicle was Juvie and Sackchaser. Now Bortlen ended up driving on a back road home. Allegedly this was to skip the early morning rush for work, and while law enforcement doesn't know exactly what happened in the vehicle, the theory is the car was pulled over to the side of the road. There was a distraction made inside of the vehicle to catch Juvie and Sackchaser off guard, while YNW Melly did the act towards them in the vehicle. Law enforcement believe it was YNW Melly who did the act, due to YNW Melly having a video recording on his cell phone of him pretty much just admitting to doing it, alongside a message that he sent his girlfriend at the time 2 weeks later saying, and I quote, "I kept Bortlen with me because at the end of the day, he did one of the realest stuff in my life." Now this could be YNW Melly's way of thanking Bortlen for remaining loyal and not snitching. After the act was done, the Jeep was then allegedly brought into a side parking lot where nobody was in sight and nobody could hear a firearm being used. This is when YNW Melly and Bortlen, in a 360-degree motion, roughed up their vehicle to make it appear as if a drive-by happened to it. The drive-by would then be YNW Melly and Bortlen's excuse for Sackchaser and Juvie's passing when they eventually brought them to the hospital. And I say eventually because it took YNW Melly and Bortlen 40 minutes to get Juvie and Sackchaser any sort of medical attention. It wasn't until February 13th where we saw YNW Melly being brought into jail for the act that led to Juvie and Sackchaser's passing. YNW Bortlen was also brought into jail for 2 counts of accessory and helping YNW Melly cover it up. Now, law enforcement has been building up evidence against YNW Melly for 2 years. All the evidence shared in the courtroom so far is very concerning. I was able to pull all of the evidence files from the court website, and I want you to listen and comment whether this is good enough evidence to lock up YNW Melly for life. Now it starts by saying, and I quote, "Then also we have a video of Mr. Demons admitting to doing an act towards 2 individuals in the head." I had to change a few words in that statement, but you understand what I'm trying to say. In the next court document, it states, and I quote, "This video was on Mr. Demon's cell phone, which was brought to my office by Jameson Francis." And that is how we had that, and that was all of the evidence that Your Honor has. Now, Jameson Francis was YNW Melly's manager and still is. He's known as 100K Management. He was the man holding YNW Melly's cell phones for this entire time. Now these cell phones are going to play a huge part in the court case for YNW Melly, as the next court file states, and I quote, "These particular cell phones, which were both iPhone 10s, were on the T-Mobile network. And so T-Mobile has a very interesting feature where it will tell you the environment the cell phone is in. So from these cell phone records, I can tell you the exact moment Demons got out of the car and staged the drive-by location. Remember earlier, as I mentioned, law enforcement believe YNW Melly and Bortlen took the vehicle into a side parking lot to rough up the vehicle in a 360-degree motion. That's where they believe YNW Melly staged the location. Now, law enforcement are also able to use a secret tool that not many people know about. This is actually called a data extract. This means they can pull everything and anything that was ever on that cell phone. This means that deleted text messages, deleted photos, even Snapchats will be brought back to life. and then law enforcement will be able to use that as evidence against YNW Melly, as that is very concerning, as they found a very serious text message that YNW Melly said to his girlfriend. He said, and I quote, "I kept Bortlen with me because at the end of the day, he did one of the realest stuff in my life." And as I mentioned, that could be YNW Melly's way of thanking Bortlen for not snitching on him in court and telling law enforcement it was him that did it. So after hearing all of that evidence and what happened, do you believe that YNW Melly is guilty? Is this going to be one of the biggest rapper related court cases of all time, as there's a very high chance YNW Melly gets sentenced to life in prison? On October 20th, that's when his court files were all updated with all of this new evidence. Prosecutors are also now requesting the Broward County judge to force YNW Melly to provide his DNA in order to help solve the case. Now, in the court documents, it states that in the vehicle where YNW Melly allegedly did the act towards the two individuals, there was evidence left behind in the vehicle. This piece of evidence is a yellow jacket. So this yellow jacket was analyzed by the Broward Sheriff's Crime Lab, and there was a report then issued. Dated on September 2nd in 2021, the report indicates that Anthony Williams, aka YNW Sackchaser's DNA, was part of the sample on the yellow jacket, and that there are 3 other potential contributors. The contributor profiles are not eligible to be entered yet. The prosecutors want to prove that YNW Melly is guilty in this case by using a DNA test, which in the court of law is very hard evidence to beat. But it is very strange as why they would want YNW Melly's DNA. Many believe that law enforcement want YNW Melly's DNA not for the yellow jacket but for something else, as obviously YNW Melly was in the vehicle. YNW Melly admitted to being in the vehicle when the so-called drive-by even occurred. So it's strange as why they would want the DNA for something as little as a yellow jacket that was on the floor. And ever since this new evidence was released in the courtroom, that's when the trial now has a date, being March 7th. There could be groundbreaking evidence found in the case that we're just gonna have to wait for, but I'll make sure to keep you up to date if you want to stay up to date with the new case. If you are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and don't forget to leave a like. And if you are new to the channel, make sure you check out any of our videos here on the end screen. They're ones you will not want to miss. Anyways, it's been District Trending, and I'm out. Peace. Also, we're uploading every single day in the month of December, so make sure you hit the post notification bell so you never miss a new video that we upload. We upload videos about all kinds of rappers that are probably some of your favorites.